Folks, sorry for the delay. We are waiting for one more member to get started, who is expected momentarily. Good morning, everyone. I'm Councillor Stephen Holliday. I'm the chair of the Etobicoke-York Community Council. We have quorum, and I'm now calling meeting number 24 to order. Welcome, everybody. Today's meeting is being held by video conference and in person at the Etobicoke Civic Centre in the Council Chamber. This meeting is also being live streamed online at youtube.com/Toronto City Council Live. Although we may be meeting in different locations today, Community Council would like to acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. If you're registered to speak at today's meeting, please listen for me to call your name. I will call speakers in the order they appear on the list. The list of speakers can be viewed online by visiting the Etobicoke-York Community Council page at toronto.ca/council and clicking the speakers box for today's meeting. Members, the clerk has provided all agenda materials on toronto.ca/council and on CMP, the clerk's meeting portal. Clerk's IT staff are available to members if you need help with your devices. I also want to remind you to please submit and approve your motions by email. Staff are available at etcc@toronto.ca to help with motions. Are there any declarations of interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? If you do have an interest, please indicate the item number and the nature of the interest. Seeing none, we'll proceed. May I have a motion to confirm the minutes from our meeting on June 4th, 2025? Deputy Mayor Morley moves. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. So we'll now go through the items. Our first item is EY 24.1, 720 Humberwood Boulevard, City-initiated zoning bylaw amendment to reallocate Section 37 funds, a decision report. I spoke to Councillor Crescent a minute ago, or a couple of minutes ago, and he asked me to hold that for him, and he should be here momentarily. EY 24.2, 1276 Islington Avenue zoning bylaw amendment application decision report. We have a speaker, so we'll hold that item. EY 24.3, 4231, 4237, and 4241 Dundas Street West zoning bylaw amendment application decision report. We have speakers, so we'll hold that item. EY 24.4, 1693 and 1695 and 1705 to 1709 Weston Road and 10 Victoria Avenue East zoning bylaw amendment application to decision report. We have speakers, so we'll hold that item. EY 24.5, 20 Wallasey Avenue zoning bylaw amendment draft plan of subdivision applications, a decision report. We have a speaker for that item. So that will be held. EY 24.6, 1006 and 1008 Kipling Avenue residential demolition application. We have a speaker, so that item will be held. EY 24.7, 36 South Station Street residential demolition application. Councillor Nunziata.
Yes, I'll move recommendation 1.
Councillor Nunziata is moving recommendation number 1, which is to approve the application to demolish the existing detached residential building without any conditions. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries. EY 24.8, which is 95 Stavely Crescent application for fence exemption. We have speakers, so we'll hold that item. EY 24.9, 360 Melrose Street application to remove a city tree. We have speakers, so we'll hold that item. EY 24.10, appointment of public members to the George Bell Arena. Councillor Nunziata.
Yes, I'll move the recommendation.
Councillor Nunziata moves the recommendation. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries. EY 24.11, changes to business improvement area boards of management. Deputy Mayor Morley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be moving staff recommendations.
Deputy Mayor Morley moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. EY 24.12, renaming 8th Street Park in memory of Jordon Carter. Deputy Mayor Morley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This has been a special project that my team has been working closely with staff on. The community was really devastated to lose Jordon at a very young age, and this is an opportunity to honor his memory and his legacy in our community at a skate park that he frequented regularly. I want to acknowledge and thank his family and friends for their incredibly hard work to make this happen, and of course to staff for supporting us to get this done. Jordon was a trailblazer in the skate park community and spent a lot of time at this particular skate park in my ward. His infectious and happy spirit and positive boundless energy was always recognized, and we're really proud to do this today in his honor. So I'll be moving the staff recommendations.
Deputy Mayor Morley moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. EY 24.13, Cordova Avenue and Mabelle Avenue, and always stop control. Deputy Mayor Morley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Cordova, again, another good news story. I'm very excited to be moving this forward with the support from the local Islington Junior Middle School, parents and staff, and we'll be moving staff recommendations.
Deputy Mayor Morley moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. EY 24.14, Lakeshore Boulevard West, U-turn prohibitions. Deputy Mayor Morley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Following staff recommendations on this item.
Deputy Mayor Morley moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. EY 24.15, 7th Street, traffic calming. Deputy Mayor Morley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is another one we worked closely with the community and had a favorable poll to support implementation of traffic calming in this area, and we'll be moving the staff recommendations.
Deputy Mayor Morley moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. EY 24.16, this is the last one. EY 24.16, 6th Street, traffic calming, speed humps.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Another petition from our local community and a favorable poll. I will be moving staff recommendations to implement traffic calming for 6th Street.
Deputy Mayor Morley moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. EY 24.17, Tromley Drive, traffic and parking amendments. That's in Ward 2, so I'll move the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. EY 24.18, Stanley Avenue, parking amendments. Deputy Mayor Morley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're really excited, again, working closely with our local community, including the principal and staff at St. Leo's, which has recently been renovated. We're excited for them to open their new school year, and we'll be moving staff recommendations to support parking in the area.
Deputy Mayor Morley moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Yes. EY 24.19, Sunplains Crescent, parking amendments. That's in Ward 2, so I'll move the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. EY 24.20, Warnica Avenue and Brawley Avenue, always stop. Deputy Mayor Morley. Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. This requires the
Addition.
addition of, excuse me. All right, so this is a new item of business, so we're just going to move to add it as new business. All those in favor to add as new business, we'll come back to that. Any opposed? That carries. The next one is EY 24.21, also a new item. So the motion is to add it as new business. That is Photography Drive between Black Creek Drive and a point 310 meters northwest, parking regulation amendments. All those in favor to add as new business, any opposed? That carries. Two more. EY 24.22, which is 59 and 60 Annie Craig Drive, inclusion of lay-by parking space. A motion to add as new business. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. And EY 24.23, which is changes to the Weston Village BIA Board of Management. That requires a motion to add new business. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Okay, we'll just go back up to the top to EY 24.1. That is 720 Humberwood Boulevard, city-initiated zoning bylaw amendment to reallocate Section 37 funds. A decision report. We have no speakers on that item, so Councillor Crescent.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So this has been a long, complicated road back to Community Council, so I'm going to move staff recommendations. I think this is great news for revitalizing the park just up the road. So I'm moving staff recommendations.
Councillor Crescent moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor, any opposed, and that carries. Okay, our second item is EY 24.2, 1276 Islington Avenue, zoning bylaw amendment application, a decision report. Our speaker is David Mackay, MHBC Planning. I think David is on by video today. Good morning, David. It's Stephen Holliday from the Etobicoke-York Community Council. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Very good. Welcome to Community Council. You've got 5 minutes. Please proceed as soon as you're ready.
Great. Thank you, Councillor. Just wish to thank staff. We have worked diligently to move this project forward, to add 363 new residential units in an infill situation. We worked through a number of different difficult matters and successfully resolved those. And just wanted to thank planning, housing, and engineering staff for their support and request approval by Community Council today of the staff recommendation. Thank you.
Where is he?
Thank you. Are there any questions of the speaker? Seeing none. Questions of staff? Yes? Okay. Deputy Mayor Morley?
Good morning. Just a couple quick ones. Can you provide just some high-level details on the proposal before us?
Sure. So, through you, Mr. Chair.
Just click the button. You might need to.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Through you, Mr. Chair. So the proposal involves the retention of the existing 12-story apartment building. It involves the demolition of the existing parking structure for the apartment building and its replacement with a new 35-story, 108-meter residential rental building. The proposal is for 363 residential units, as well as some new amenity space. Staff have secured some benefits for the existing tenants, including access to the new amenity space, new bicycle parking, car parking spaces, as well as a new indoor garbage enclosure. And the parts of the land that are closest to Islington Avenue are being rezoned open space as well, as they're part of the ravine natural feature.
Great, thank you. And this site is located within an MTSA, is that correct?
Through the chair, yes, that's correct.
Are there any additional improvements going to the existing 12-story building on the site? You mentioned some access to amenities, but are there any proposed improvements to the existing building on the site?
Through the chair, so the improvements that housing has secured is 180 secure underground parking spaces for the exclusive use of the existing tenants. So that reflects the amount of parking spaces that are currently being leased by the existing tenants. The existing tenants will also have access to the new bicycle parking provision. So that's 96 long-term parking spaces allocated just for the tenants of the existing building. There'll be a new garbage room that'll eliminate any sort of outdoor storage of waste on the site and into a new indoor enclosure. And tenants of the existing building will have access to all of the new outdoor and indoor amenity space associated with the new building.
Thank you. Those are my questions.
Thank you.
Great. Are there any further questions? Seeing none, Deputy Mayor Morley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As we heard, this is an application within a MTSA, and our city is currently investing heavily in the Islington Station area through TTC relocating bus bays and a new Housing Now project coming to that site. This is an apartment designated neighborhood. It's experiencing a significant amount of growth and revitalization at this time. While we continue to work closely with the community to manage that in a good way, we do appreciate the efforts related to this application, and we'll be moving the staff recommendations to support.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Morley moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor, any opposed, that item carries. Okay, on to EY 24.3, which is 4231, 4237, and 4241 Dundas Street West zoning bylaw amendment application to decision report. We have speakers. Our first speaker is Raymond Darzinskas, which I believe is on video conference.
I'm Baruti Luxnaite. I'm also on the list, and I know Raymond. He asked me to ask you if he could go after me because he wants to comment on one of the concerns I would like to raise.
And may I have your name?
My name is Baruti Luxnaite.
Okay.
I'm third on the list.
Yep.
My mom, Angel Luxiniene, she's here with me, but she asked me to speak on behalf of her as well.
I see. Okay. All right. Well, unless there's any objection, please proceed. Welcome to the Etobicoke-York Community Council. You've got 5 minutes. And Raymond, we will get to you in a moment.
Can I take maybe a few more minutes because I'm speaking on behalf of my mother and myself?
Unfortunately, that I cannot allow.
Okay,
Yeah, so
I
it's
have
5
a
minutes.
USB file that I would like to share. I was advised that I could bring.
Yep, I'm just going to lean over. Can we accommodate a USB file? No.
But I was advised that I can.
I'm sorry.
I have. Can I send this information to the council then? Because there's concerning.
Absolutely. You can submit it as a correspondence. You can
Okay.
email it to us personally. A variety of things that we won't be able to get it up on the screen for you right now. So if you can just speak to it, that would be fine.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
So are you ready to go? Otherwise?
Yes.
Okay. Go right ahead.
Thank you. So as I mentioned, my name is Baruti Luxinaite, and my mother and myself, we are from 122 Government Road, which is directly below the property that is submitting the request to you. We've been at this property we've been at our home since 1991, and our deceased family members had been there for decades before us. So this is our family home that we intend on keeping for as long as we can. We're directly below this property, so we have firsthand comments. Number one, I would like to mention that this notice was not received on Government Road. I spoke to as many neighbors as I could, and nobody received this notice. So there was no time for residents to prepare and attend this meeting. I think it's something for you to consider and perhaps schedule another meeting where members of the community could actually attend. I also believe there's a mistake in the way the surrounding uses of this property are described in the report. To the south of the side is a surface parking lot, residential lots fronting on Government Road, and a residential neighborhood further south. I'm not sure which parking lot was had in mind. There is no parking lot. There's a parking lot that belongs to the property that is submitting this proposal to you. There is no parking lot to the south of the property. It backs on directly onto residential properties. And they're not residential lots, they're homes. And the residential neighborhoods that are being referred to, that's us on Government Road. So the residential neighborhoods are not somewhere far away, we're right there. And I would ask the council to please come and visit our street so you could see exactly what impact this massive development would have in our area. In my submission on my USB file, I wanted to show, I wanted to mention that the description that the proposal is for 11 floors, I believe is a little bit misleading to the common resident of Toronto. It's not 11 floors. There's proposal for a commercial main floor, which would make the building at least 12 stories, plus there would be 2 utility floors. So that would make the building at least 14 stories high. That's not 11. And we do not have a building that is 12 stories high anywhere near to us. There's the Kingsway Retirement Residence, which is 6 stories high. There is a luxury rental building, residential, on the corner of Dundas and Prince Edward. I believe it's 8 stories high. So please come and visit our street so you would get a sense before making a decision on whether this is the right proposal for this area. The proposed arc to be right in the middle of this building, it will with certainty cause an even greater wind tunnel effect. The new high rises that were built where the old Rona used to be, they are already causing wind near our homes. You go a little bit further south and there is no wind, but right where we are, all of a sudden wind that we never used to experience before. So Raymond Derzinskis wanted to connect and speak with you. He lives in a condominium that has a similar arch to the side of his building. And I visit him. He's sick with ALS. He's paralyzed and in a wheelchair. I visit him frequently. And I park in his parking lot that I have to get to through the arch. It's impossible to open the car door. The wind is incredible. This will cause safety hazards in our area. Another thing is that there's massive flooding running off the paved surfaces in this area. The new development that was built did not have proper stormwater drainage installed in the surrounding grounds. Please visit this area and see for yourselves. I have videos where we have to run a sump pump to drain the river that starts flowing from the paved surrounding areas where the new high rises were built. Please come come and see during a rainstorm or when the winter snow starts to melt.
Can I ask you to please wrap up because you're over time?
Also, there's mention that trees will be removed on residential properties. There are trees that are near the property line with this proposed development. We were never advised. Nobody spoke to us to seek our opinion.
Okay. Thank you for speaking to us. I will ask if there's any questions of the speaker. Deputy Mayor Morley has some questions for you.
Okay.
Good morning. Thank you
morning.
for joining us.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions. I just want to follow up on some of the points that you shared. There was a statutory community consultation meeting on this file. It would have probably been a while ago now. I'm wondering if yourself or anybody on your street and your family were able to
Yes, we were there. I gathered all the neighbors that I could, including my 100-year-old neighbor, Clay. We all attended to the extent we could.
Okay, great. And so I imagine you've been directly in touch to share your concerns with the planner on the file as well? Is
I
that-
have not been. I was not aware that any movement was made with respect to this matter, other than an advertising I saw online that this property is already being sold as a pre-construction property, which really baffles me since there's no permit to even build.
Right. My follow-up question as well was just around the new high-rises that you mentioned and some of the flooding concerns that are coming as a result. Can you remind me how those are on the north side of the street,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Along the Humber, right?
Yes.
How tall are those ones?
So I know where you're going with that.
I'm just
but
curious. I actually work
I
on
don't
that
know.
file.
They're very tall. I haven't counted their floors.
Okay, and there's also a building under construction at Prince Edward and Dundas at the corner, right? A Dunbar building, I believe, that's currently under construction, just a few blocks up.
Dundas and
Sorry, Prince Edward Drive.
no, that one has already been constructed and it's about 8 floors high, tall.
Oh, there, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna pose some of the questions that you brought forward to staff as well on some of the concerns, so I'll get that on the record, and I really appreciate you taking the time. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask. I understand a lot of what you brought to us. In fact, when I read the report, I was thinking many of the same ideas. But I wanted to know if you had a sense of what would be okay on the site, your
Yes.
perspective.
Yes. So I'm not against high rises. I'm not against condos. I lived in Manhattan on 42nd Street on the 47th floor. I know what it's like to be in the city, but this is not New York. This is a residential neighborhood. Something that is between the Kingsway retirement residence and the Dunbar luxury rental that is 8 floors high. Something like that probably would be acceptable to me, maybe not to my neighbors. They're appalled that even a 6-story building has to be built, but I would be okay with something like that.
So 6 to 8 stories. Okay. It's helpful. I just want to understand. Thank you.
But please, the archway, please investigate, because it would cause irreparable harm to the properties right below.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any other questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you for joining us. I will ask our next speaker, Raymond Darzinskas, who I believe is on video. If you could connect. To the clerk, do we have Raymond connected? We do not. Did we lose him or did he not connect at all? Okay. Hi, Raymond. It's Stephen Holliday, the chair of the Etobicoke-York Community Council. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
Great. If I can just get you to speak loud and clear. We hear you. There's a little bit of a muffle to the sound, so we'll do our best, but anything you can do to help us would be appreciated. Welcome to the Community Council. You have 5 minutes to speak to us. Please begin.
Thank you very much. I have lived in the area for more than 45 years, and I've seen some of the minor changes that have occurred, but this is a horrendous change that would disrupt the neighborhood that people here have enjoyed, for a very long time. The religious comments are all 100% correct. Excuse me, I am affected by ALS. The wind tunnels that she is speaking of, you can test them for yourselves by walking down Royal York Road and then going to 1135 Royal York Road building. And you will see that in most days you have difficulty getting to the front door. I have had occasions where I've been blown over, broken my hand, and it's something that was constructed without proper engineering assessments. And this is what needs to be done, that an engineering assessment is performed and the committee can evaluate the negative effects. And in addition, Barita has been living there for most of her life. Like, is it right that she should suddenly have a building that is going to dominate, take away the garden? They will be exposed to car pollution. There will be at least 300 cars coming in most days, parking, coming in and out more than once a day, now all spewing their exhaust systems into her garden, the adjacent neighbors' gardens, and they're completely eliminating any reasonable enjoyment or usage of their back garden. So I think it's the duty of the council to encourage or request the engineering reports as to what meteorological, what natural effect this will have, to determine whether the 18 floors that they're planning to build is reasonable. We all realize we need more accommodation, but should that be done at the cost of the individuals that are already there? Do they have to lose their right and enjoyment of their property? That would not be correct. So, in conclusion, Barita is absolutely right. And this needs more attention before anything further is determined on proceeding with this construction. So thank you very much for listening to me. I apologize for my breaking voice. It's something out of my control right now. I'm 85 years old, but if I didn't have ALS, I would be speaking normally. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Darzinkas. We did hear you very clearly, and I will ask my colleagues, are there any questions of the speaker? There are not. Once again, thank you for joining us. We did have one additional speaker. I will just confirm, Engel Luxien?
That was my mother.
Okay, but Engel's not going to speak. Okay, I'll just confirm because we have her on the list. Our additional speaker is Marianne Lab. Is Marianne here or online? Online. Welcome, Marianne. It's Stephen Holliday, the chair of the Etobicoke-York Community Council. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
We can, loud and clear. You have 5 minutes to speak to the committee. Please begin as soon as you're ready.
Thank you, Counselor. I appreciate it. And thank you to your staff for accommodating me at the last minute. I guess the first comment I'd like to make is with respect to notice of this meeting and of this, the details around this development. I live on Government Road, a little bit closer to Prince Edward, so not directly behind this proposed development, but close enough. And I literally found out about this meeting last night because a neighbor notified me. And so I wanted the council to consider the quality, caliber, and frequency of their notifications of residences of meetings such as this, because I was not given enough notice, in my humble opinion. But nevertheless, so that's probably my first comment, is that I don't feel that there was sufficient notice given to prepare for this meeting, number one. Number two, probably the biggest concern I have about this development is the impact on traffic, especially on Dundas Street. I would hope that the council considers the holistic plans for that stretch on Dundas Street, because I know this particular development is one of several that are in the works along that stretch on Dundas Street. And already, I think you'll find, and I invite you to come to the neighborhood on any weekday, any work weekday, in the early evening, sometime between 4 and 6, to see the amount of traffic congestion that we are seeing and feeling on Dundas Street, which, by the way, then spills over onto Government Road because it runs parallel to Dundas Street. So our neighborhood, my home directly, is impacted by the influx of traffic that we've experienced with just what exists today, much less what's going to be built or what's being proposed here. I guess the third comment I'd like to make is more of a question, which is that from what I've read in this notice, the request or the application is to amend the zoning bylaw, which is, I believe, different than simply asking for a variance specific to this one development. And I'd just like some clarification from the council, if that's possible, around what exactly the scope of this request is. Is it actually just for this one development, or is this going to amend the bylaw, which will enable for future developments to now adhere to the updated bylaw? Because that's a much bigger deal. It's one thing if this one property is simply requesting a variance. It's another if we're actually going to amend the bylaw for everyone and anyone in the neighborhood. So that's something that needs further clarification, in my opinion. So those are my comments. I don't know if it's possible for you to answer some of the questions that I have, but those are the main points that I want to raise on this call. And again, I apologize that I'm not well prepared. I literally found out about this meeting last night. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you for joining us. I will ask, are there any other speakers on this item? Seeing none, questions of staff. Deputy Mayor Morley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have a few. I'll try to keep them brief. Oh.
Okay, we did have one more. Can we get your name, please, and ensure that you register?
I didn't register.
You didn't, okay.
No.
That's fine, come on up. We just make sure that as soon as you're done, if you can go, give your information to the clerk, excuse me.
Absolutely. Hi, my name's, I'm a bit
We just
short.
get your name.
My name's Natasha Wallia.
Okay.
I live at 124 Government Road. So actually, I am the property that is directly behind Gibson's. So this probably impacts me and my family the most. We are immediately behind, and as my neighbor said, I welcome any of you to come into my backyard. We purchased the home just a few years back with plans of spending the next 40 years there. I have a young family. I have a swing set. I've got a beautiful yard that we've invested a lot into adding trees, creating an environment for my children and my family to be. When we moved in, we were told that likely a 5 to 6 story development would happen behind you. And similarly, I'm from Montreal. I've lived in New York. I've lived in Toronto. I support housing. I support community development. And we purchased this property knowing that. Seeing the new proposal, and again, with complete lack of warning, we didn't receive any notice for this. What my neighbors are saying is true. I sent in my concerns 2 years ago. I have the email from 2023 and never received anything on that. It's shocking. And again, come to my house at 8 a.m. From 8 a.m. to 8:30, you will see like 100 children walk by my house to go to school. You will see the same kids come back at 3 p.m. And the amount of traffic having a condo directly behind us will cause on Government Road. Like, this is a street where children are everywhere. Our kids are going from home to home, walking around, and I do not think it can support such a large development. In my personal perspective, like, I will take some photos of my backyard and show you how close this is. To her point, there is no parking lot. It is my house, and I could probably touch Gibson's with a stick from the back of my fence. This is directly where we live. This is backing onto residential neighborhoods. I understand your concern that the properties across the road are higher. They don't back directly onto community homes. And it's a very different thing to have a 5 or 6 story structure, which again, not ideal, but supportive of that. That's doing things for the better good of the community. But to have something of this size directly behind us seems very inappropriate. And I've got a lovely backyard, and anyone is welcome to come see it and see exactly what this would mean for the families living there. So that's all I had to say.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the speaker? Deputy Mayor Morley.
Thank you for speaking and for joining us. I know it was mentioned in the report there were a couple of private trees that would be impacted by this development. You mentioned your proximity. Is your property one of the properties with private trees on it that would be impacted?
I didn't see that in the report, so I don't know, but I did just spend a lot of money putting private trees at the back of my lawn, so I hope not. But it might be, like I said, Gibson's is immediately in front of me. So in all likelihood it might be, but I'm not sure.
I'll get some clarification from staff as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions of the speaker? Seeing none, are there any other speakers to this item? I do not see any. Okay, questions of staff. Deputy Mayor Morley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Ali. Thank you for joining us. I have got a number of questions I want to advance on behalf of the deputants, and I'll see if I can get to some of my own questions as well. The first one is the repeated theme of notice. Can you confirm what the notice policy is and what was sent as a part of a public engagement on this file?
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you. Through the chair, Councillor, I think we'd like to pass that question over to clerks to respond.
Thank you.
I think they're also online.
Good morning, Chair. Yes, with apologies, I am online this morning. The City Clerk's Office gave notice of this public meeting on June 11th via the Toronto Star, which is the newspaper we put our public notices in. Unfortunately, due to the Canada Post labor situation that occurred in mid-May, where Canada Post was in a labor disruption position, we could not guarantee that notice by mail would be delivered, and such elected to fulfill our obligations by using the Toronto Star. We also gave direct notice to any interested persons, resident ratepayers associations by email, for which we had email contact information.
Thank you. Was a notice sent out for the community consultation meeting related to this file?
Yes, through the chair, yes, it was.
And can you confirm what the timelines were for that?
That was in 2020.
In 2020? 2023.
And in addition, through you, Mr. Chair, in addition, there was information that was been sent to the neighborhood on the government road by the applicant as well.
Related to the change in
Regarding to
the
the change in the
rear.
rear one, that was in 2024.
Okay. There was a comment about 11 stories being misleading on this file because commercial at grade and additional mechanical rooftop. Can you speak to how we communicate that and if in fact 11 stories is what it is or if it's more than that and residents should understand?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's 11 stories in total with a mechanical penthouse of 6 meters. So the in meters height is 37.3 and 11 stories, and then 6 meters of mechanical penthouse. That also includes a small portion of indoor amenity space.
Okay. So the at-grade ground floor level is included in the 11 stories?
That's correct.
Thank you. With respect to the concerns about wind impact and wind tunnels, can you explain what staff have done with respect to that item?
So when we review the application, we do consider the wind reports that are coming from the consultants, applicants' consultants. Further, the wind mitigation measures would be secure through the site plan process as well.
And that's still to come?
And that's still to come.
Okay, so there's opportunities to ensure that the wind is appropriately mitigated if approved. Thank you. The next one was with respect to flooding concerns. Can you give a little bit of information about what any applicant on a site is required to do with respect to flooding mitigation? And specifically on this site, what we expect?
On this side,
Sorry, Mr. Chair, can you pause my time? Just while they sort out who's going to answer. Thank you. Thank you. I have a lot of questions.
Hi.
Hi, good morning.
I'm Darlene Cojel. I'm acting manager in development engineering. We have an approved FSR. We always do functional servicing reports. And in fact, in terms of flooding, I am usually less concerned about flooding when you have new development because we ensure that the site is self-contained and we make sure that the site holds up to the 100-year storm and we release it at a trickle of the 2-year storm. So during development, as development occurs, there is less flooding in the areas.
So there is a requirement for the applicant to retain any potential stormwater runoff within their site to ensure, to mitigate impact to the wider community.
To any adjacent developments or areas.
Thank you. I appreciate that clarification. The next one I have is on trees. There is a note in the report, Ali, about impact for, I believe it's 2 private trees. Can you speak to that?
through you, Mr. Chair, that's correct. So there will be application that is needed to injure or to remove the trees for this site for the new construction to go on the site. The application has been reviewed by urban forestry staff, and they are in agreement with it. We have ensured that there are more trees planted on the site as well.
In the event that a private tree is on a neighbor's property, are they required to consent to the removal or injury of that tree?
Through Mr. Chair, yes. When a tree application involves a neighboring tree, we do send notifications twice to the affected tree owners. First, to let them know what is happening and on the adjacent property that may affect their trees. And the second notification is when we are prepared to issue the permit. This is not a file of my own myself, so I'm not aware that an application has already been submitted. But if it has, we would send out these notices, and the adjacent tree owner would have a chance to voice their concern. If in the event that we decide, make a decision to issue the permit to injure the tree, in the case of injury, we would deem that the injury does not severely impact the trees in order for us to have the confidence to issue the permit.
Okay. So I think my question is still a little unclear in terms of consent of the neighbor. It sounds like the neighbor's consent is not
Yes,
required.
so we speak to the private tree bylaw, but any dispute between two property owners, that's civil matters between themselves to resolve.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. The last quick one I have, sorry I'm over time, or maybe I can go for a second round, Mr. Chair? Thank you. I wanted to just also address shadow impact. We understand, of course, there's a beautiful community south of this site that's very stable, long-standing residential community. Can you speak to what the anticipated shadow impacts for the neighboring homes south of the site are?
Through the chair, thank you. The shadows primarily cast to the north, given the trajectory of the sun.
So we have confidence that the enjoyment of the gardens that Ray talked about and some of those shadow impacts on the southern neighbors are mitigated and should not be of concern in this application, correct?
That's right.
Thank you. There was a question about whether or not this is reasonable application for the site. And as we know, we meet regularly. We have some properties, 30 stories, 40 stories, even 60-story towers that we're navigating currently in our city as the province has given us a mandate for growth. Is this a reasonable application on this site? And can you explain to us your opinion?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have evaluated this application based on the merits of this application. That includes many performance standards. First, the site is on the avenue. The second is the plan and the existing context. There are approvals for 14-story on this stretch of Dundas Street West.
Sorry, there's an existing approval for 14 stories.
14 stories
Okay.
at the intersection of Dundas Street West and Prince Edward.
Okay.
And also on the north side as well. In comparison with that one, the 11 stories is an appropriate transition height.
Thank you. Those are all my questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Because I have one or two.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, you have time if you want to carry on.
Yeah, I do want to address the issue of notification because I do think that that is critically important. And I know our clerk, Jennifer, joined us to share that a notification did go through the newspaper. Can you explain if that satisfies our statutory requirement for notification and whether there would be advice for deferral to allow for additional notification or if clerks are satisfied?
Good morning, Chair. It does satisfy our obligations under the regulations in the Planning Act. I cannot comment, however, on any action Community Council may want to take as a result of that.
Got it. Thank you so much, Jennifer. I appreciate that. I'll leave it there.
Thank you. Councillor Nunziata, you have a couple questions?
Couple questions. So the question was asked about to amend the zoning bylaw and what that meant and the variance. So maybe you can just comment on that because there was a bit of confusion on that question. If you can just comment on that.
Thank you. Through the chair. So this is an application to rezone. It is not a application for a minor variance. However, to the point, I believe the comment was speaking about was whether this was site specific or specific to this site itself. And while it's rezoning, it is only with respect to this site. It does not rezone any other properties along Dundas.
Good. I just want to make that clear so they understand that part of it. And just one other question. It was mentioned by a couple deputants about this parking lot. Can you just clarify this parking lot that they were referring to?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So the current conditions of the site is that there is a parking behind this building on the private property, which we saw as a parking lot. So it's a private property with the parking existing parking conditions between the existing building and the neighborhood on the south.
Yeah, and just maybe for some more clarity, there are a number of different uses just to the immediate south of the south property line. So there is a parking lot to the west of the site which wraps around the southern portion at the west end, and then there are houses along the remainder of the south property line. So, and that's reflected in our report.
ask questions. I hear an echo. Is that an echo? Okay. I hear it too. I don't know what's going on. But as far as traffic on Dundas, which I'm on Dundas all the time, do you agree that some of the traffic congestion on Dundas is because there's congestion at Dundas and Scarlet, and we're widening that bridge, that would help with the congestion we have on Dundas? Because right now it's so congested at the intersection, and so you have that volume of traffic going eastbound on Dundas. So I think when we get that bridge widened, I think we'll see improvements on traffic on Dundas.
Good morning, Sam Nassel from Transportation for You, Senior Project Manager, through the chair. The development is not going to significantly produce traffic that will be detrimental to the road network. The numbers currently are 30 new peak hour and 45 new peak hour. There's no issue. The TIS actually had 5 proxy sites which supported this, and Transportation does support.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Because I had a couple. Ms. McGanny, thank you for, as you as the contact on the report. The residents brought up the idea of the height of the building. I would ask the same question if I live close. Can you tell us a little bit about planning's thinking that brought you to the point that you would support 11 stories, or I think 37 meters? And what is the background? What's the context on this street that introduces those thoughts?
Thank you for that question. So, a couple of things that I mentioned previously. The first one is the site is on the avenue. The second one is the plan and the existing context. The existing context has 14 stories approved through the OLT mediation and settlements in this stretch of Dundas Street West. Keeping in mind the plan and the existing context, the 11 stories was more appropriate form on this site. The site is a deep site. The average depth is 50 meters. So considering various factors, an 11-story building is an appropriate fit on this site.
A long time ago, there were some ideas around creating if I get the right term here, was it an area-specific policy? What does that generally tell us about Dundas along this corridor?
We do have a Dundas urban design guidelines that I think that you're referring to, which recommended 6 stories at that time, which is still a current guideline. But as I mentioned, that we do look at the plan and the existing context of it, and the existing context is higher than the 6 stories. Given the merits of the application, an 11-story was appropriate for this site.
So the other sites went beyond the original SASP?
That is correct.
And the original SASP considered mid-rise. 6 stories was mid-rise at the time.
That
is correct?
That is correct.
So the others went through that ceiling. So this is somewhere in the range, if I'm hearing you correctly, this is somewhere in the range of the other buildings.
That is correct, and lower than what it was, other approvals.
SASP aside, what does the city's avenues policy tell us about what the official plan thinks of building on streets like this?
The city has approved the avenue policy, which allows 6-story building on an avenue.
Okay.
Which is under appeal.
Okay.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, the avenues policies would call for a mid-rise building in line with our mid-rise design guidelines.
the mid-rise design guidelines. And if I remember correctly, there was a little change to those guidelines that made the transition at the rear of the building a little bit boxier. Is that right? Instead of the traditional stepping back, it's a little bit more straight. Although it's not straight in this application, but it allows for a little bit more of a straight transition. Do I remember that correctly?
That's correct. The angular plane was eliminated.
Okay. Thank you very much. Members wishing to speak. Deputy Mayor Morley, I may make a quick comment as well.
Absolutely, Mr. Chair. Happy to hear your thoughts and comments always. This is a tough one, particularly because of the challenge with Canada Post and the notification. Typically, I would be prone to defer. Sorry, guys, it's loud today. I'm prone to defer for that purpose, but we did hear from our clerks that our statutory requirements were satisfied. There was a community consultation meeting held on this file, which we know was well attended by local residents, and we have worked through a number of issues on this file and on this site over the last while. I hear the concerns from local residents, and I appreciate some of the impacts that will be the new reality within the community. We do have a mandate from the province to grow as a city and to absorb a significant amount of that growth. This is something that is not new to Etobicoke Lakeshore, and as I mentioned previously in my questions, we have navigated some very significant applications that are looking to put, for example, last council, we had a 39-story building abutting up against single-family residential. And while we chose not to support it at that time, they have since appealed to the OLT, and that will be its own process. So in this case, I do know the community quite well. Prior to being an elected official, I did work as a council support staff on the north side of the ward in Etobicoke Centre. So I'm familiar with the Rona site redevelopment, for example. I'm also familiar with some of the Dunbar site redevelopments on the south side. We heard 14 stories is already approved in this area, and I do think 11 stories on an avenue, specifically, that's a really critical part of, I think, the justification for the growth here does fit well with the way that this community is set to grow through our official plan and through our planning legislative guidance. So I will be moving to follow staff recommendations on this file. I do want to stress the importance of staff continuing to listen closely to local residents and work to mitigate the concerns around wind. We hear there should not be too much concern around shadow, and I think that's good news for folks to be assured. But around some of these traffic and other pieces through site plan, we do want to make sure that we are carefully supporting this and our local residents to have a good outcome that fits well with their neighborhood. So those are my comments. I will leave it there. I, again, appreciate the work of staff on this, and we'll be moving their recommendations.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Morley. Any other members wishing to speak? I'll only just speak briefly, and that is just I'll be supporting Deputy Mayor Morley in moving ahead with the application. But I want to acknowledge the residents. When I read the report, I thought of, if I lived in those houses as well, and I would have the same questions and concerns about, the change in the large building. There's some policies that council has that I didn't fully agree with, but they are what the official plan says. And we as a council have to be mindful of that. As tempting as it is to vote down an application, we also have to be mindful of an applicant that could appeal something like this and have the detail and the weight of what the official plan says from the city on their side. And sometimes getting a decision in this chamber means that we're able to get a better decision. But anyone observing the proceedings here should not think for 1 second that we don't appreciate or understand and maybe in our hearts agree with a lot of the concerns people have, but we operate in a world that is bigger than just this council, and there's a whole bunch of laws around it, and we have to pay attention to all of that. And that all of these details matter, and we do try to work through them. And I appreciate things about overlook, setback, traffic, wind possibly, which is a little bit unique to this story here with that archway or portico, but I want to make sure that people understand that we do think about these things, and we do appreciate it when people come out and talk to us, because they're all details worth looking at. But that's all, and with that, I will ask for the item, a vote on the item. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries. Thank you. All right, our next item is EY 24.4, which is 1693, 1695, and 1705 to 1709 Weston Road and 10 Victoria Avenue East. It's a zoning bylaw amendment application, and this is a decision report. And I do have a registered speaker. That is Alex Savanu from Bousfields. Welcome, Alex, to the Etobicoke-York Community Council. You've got 5 minutes. Please proceed.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair and council members. My name is Alex Savanu. I'm a senior associate and land use planner at Bousfields. We're the planning, urban design, and community engagement consultants for the file. I will be brief today. I'm mostly here to thank staff for their hard work throughout this process over the past several months. Thank Councillor Nunziata for her support through this process as well. We have no issues with the recommendations in the staff report, and I'm happy to answer any questions that council may have. Thank you.
Any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, questions of staff on the item? Seeing none, members wishing to speak?
Okay, I'll speak.
I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor Morley, did you want to speak? I saw that. Okay, Councillor Nunziata.
I'll move the recommendation on this one. We've had community meetings on it. We've had actually quite a few community meetings, and the community was very much in support of it. It's next to the Up and the Go station. Actually, you can just walk out and walk into the station. That's part of the revitalization of Weston and the charrette that we did years ago. And as you can see, the community is in support of it because you don't see any other deputations on this item. So I move the staff recommendation, and thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing none, Councillor Nunziata moves the staff recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries. EY 24.5, 20 Wallasey Avenue, a zoning bylaw amendment and draft plan of subdivision applications. This is a decision report. We do have a registered speaker, and that is Claire Ricker. Is Claire here or online, I see?
Good morning, I'm online.
Good morning, Claire. Stephen Holiday, we can hear you loud and clear. Please proceed as soon as you're ready. You've got 5 minutes.
Great. Good morning. My name is Claire Ricker, and I'm an associate with Bousfields, Inc. We're representing the landowner 20 Wallasey LP Inc. or Times Group with respect to their application at 20 Wallasey. I'll just provide a quick overview of the proposal, and we can dive into questions afterwards. The applications before council, which includes a zoning bylaw amendment and draft plan of subdivision, contemplates the modest intensification of the site with new low-rise buildings or dwellings, I apologize, in addition to the appropriate subdivision of the large parcel. The proposal will result in 18 new residential dwellings comprised of 6 single detached dwellings along Wallasey Avenue and 12 semi-detached dwellings fronting onto a new public road internal to the subject site extending north from Wallasey Avenue. The current condition of a vacant former school building disrupts the street pattern of Wallasey, and the proposed introduction of new single detached dwellings along the street will result in a complete street form, including public realm improvements and a positive contribution to the street canopy. We are of the opinion that the scale of the proposed dwellings are compatible with the physical character of the neighborhood and fit within the surrounding built form context. The dwellings will respect and reinforce the physical character of the neighborhood while providing the opportunity to achieve new housing opportunities for existing and future residents of the neighborhood. Finally, we would like to express our thanks and gratitude to Tyler Marr and ECS staff for their collaboration and efforts on this long-standing file and for their support to revitalize this currently vacant lands. Happy to answer any questions that the committee has this morning.
Thank you, Claire. Are there any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you for joining us. I'll ask if there are any other members of the public wishing to speak to this item. Seeing none, questions of staff? Seeing none. No, okay. Councillor Perruzza.
Yeah, just a couple of quick questions. So just if you can just sort of briefly describe this. So this has been an application that has been in the pipeline now for quite some time, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I guess it went through several, I think a hearing, a statutory hearing, and a couple of community consultations, correct?
Through the chair, yes. There was a CCM in 2021, and then it seems that you hosted a working group discussion later that year, also in 2021.
Okay, so just to clarify, you weren't the planner on file back then?
No.
Okay, so you just sort of assumed this, took it over, and just take me through so from 2021, it just basically sort of lay dormant with no activity, correct? To now.
I joined the city in 2022, and it slowly trickled in a few submissions, but
yeah. Okay, so slowly trickled in, and then it just so is this like a standard practice, or is this the way we do things now? So it trickles in, and then it just comes on to the community council agenda, and there's no real notice other than a sign on the property that gets put up on the property. Is like, just explain that process to me. I just want to better understand it, so for future reference, right?
Through the chair, we anticipate development review to be reporting out far quicker than this application.
Sorry?
But we would expect much faster timelines in the future than this application. But generally, the process is we review the application, and we at times have comments or revisions required. Those may be technical, design related and whatnot. And once those matters are resolved, we bring it forward to community council with our recommendation.
Okay, so let's say I were the person living next door to this site, and I say to you, oh my gosh, yeah, we dealt with this 4 years ago, but I'd forgotten about it. I thought nothing was happening, and then all of a sudden you made a decision and I didn't know about it. How would you answer that question?
We would give notice as under the Planning Act for the statutory public meeting, which is happening today.
Right. So the notice under the Planning Act, as I understand it, it's either a flyer within 120 meters of the site, or an ad in some newspaper. And I believe this one was an ad in a newspaper. So if I missed the newspaper and I'm not, I didn't give you an email on file or something like that, and I think the emails are sent by the clerk and not you folks. So, or there's some, so I don't read the newspaper, and then you deal with this application, and I really never got notified. How do you answer that question? Like, I'm just being sort of devil's advocate here. How does development happen next door, and I never hear it? I'm never given an opportunity to participate in it. or to have a say?
Yes, so people are given the opportunity, notice is given, and if one doesn't see the notice, then they wouldn't see the notice.
Right. So if I don't subscribe, so which newspaper did you put the ad in here? In which newspaper did you provide notice?
I'll hand that to the clerk, but I do believe I heard the Toronto Star.
Sorry.
I'll pause your time, Councillor Perruzza, because I think we have a representative from the clerk's office that will join us.
Hello there, Chair. My name is Renisha Hemmings. I'm here from the clerk's office.
Councillor Perruzza, do you want to ask the question again while the staff is on?
Yeah. Okay. How did you provide notice here? And yeah, how did you provide and where did you provide notice?
Yes, so we provide notice through a newspaper ad in the Toronto Star. For this particular application, we provided notice on June 3rd.
Okay. So I subscribed to the Star. I missed it. I didn't see it. Okay, fair enough. My fault, my bad. Maybe that was the day I was in a hurry that morning or something. But let's say you don't subscribe to the Star and you never see it. Then that's the stretch. That's the requirement, and that's the way it happens. End the story.
So through the chair, the clerk's office also provides a service to post the notices online. And I believe through the online subscription for the Toronto Star, previous notices can also be viewed.
Okay.
Second round.
Okay. All right. And whom else did you provide notice to? Or was there any other method that you used to provide notice?
Through the chair, yes, we provide notice to all who have expressed to the clerk that they would like to receive notice. We also provide to resident and ratepayers associations within that ward, as well as a set external agencies list that may include, telecommunication companies, railway companies, and contact information that receive notice for all that.
So from a public notice perspective, I understand agencies and homeowner groups and all the rest of it, that's fine. But from, so the people that expressed an interest, and this would have been people that would have expressed an interest 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, because that was the last time the public were engaged on this. So your list would be at minimum 4 or 5 years at a date.
In theory, through the chair, there are instances where people will email if they have been contacted by the applicant, and they will contact the planner, and so the list is.
Did anybody contact you in the interim? Did you have any updates in the last 4 or 5 years? Just because I'm being asked that question and I don't know how to answer it.
I would have to pull some stats to answer that question through the chair.
Sorry?
Apologies. I would have to pull some stats to see when last the list was
Okay.
updated.
Okay. So fair enough. That happens, and it finds its way onto community. I don't have any serious objections to this, other than I do want to ask the planner one question related to the sort of the planning review and the lens used as by planners as it relates to parking and on this stuff, but fair enough. So let me ask you that question. As a planner, when you look at a development application, and you know that the issue is the concern has been raised. It's clearly in your notes and it was raised at public meetings and so on. The real concern related to this development application is people are going to have more cars than you've allowed for in parking spaces here. It's going into a neighborhood where people have 3, 4 cars on their driveways, and there would be no reason to suggest that the people coming to live in this new subdivision, in this new court here, would need fewer cars than that, given that, you know, transit is a bus on Weston Road, you know, a considerable walk from the site, right? And that's the only transit you have in this area. So how do you rationalize that? How do you rationalize the notion that you know you're going to have spillover parking, you don't have enough parking, but we still move forward with that from a planning perspective? I just wanted to understand the planning reasoning for that.
Thank you, through the chair. So our analysis isn't that there will be spillover parking. Our analysis is that the amount of parking demand for this development will be provided for.
Sorry?
Our assessment is that the amount of parking provided for will be accommodated by this development.
Okay. So I have sort of a similar newer subdivision not far from here at Weston and Shepherd that went in just a little before my time there. And it's relatively new, and it has a similar type of development, and it has a similar sort of parking, it has similar parking numbers. And I'm faced with nothing but conflict in that particular subdivision at Weston and Shepherd, by people saying there's not enough parking. You know, we need to park out on the streets. It's constant conflict. They in fact wanted to put a parking structure in the park.
Yeah. So through the chair, these are detached homes or semi-detached homes with driveways and access to their own private parking, as you would see on any lot in this neighborhood.
Thank you. Is there what? Thank you. You want to thank me?
Thank you for your questions, Councillor.
Okay.
Members wishing to speak? Oh, Councillor Crescent, questions, please go ahead.
No, the only question I have, more like clarity, I don't understand why there's a concern, a parking concern. What I read in the report is that there was a public consultation, and also parking concerns were raised there. These are single-family residential homes, semi and detached, and they all have their own driveway. Can you verify, do they all have their own driveways and garages?
Through the chair, yes, they do. They all have their own driveway. They all have private parking garages as well. So they could fit 2 cars in each site.
So one in the garage, one in the driveway?
Correct.
All right, and on the detached homes, you can fit more vehicles?
No, the parking supply is the same for semis and the singles.
Okay, that's reasonable. All right, just want to get that clarity. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions of staff? Seeing none, members to speak.
Just a quick comment related to the parking, Mr. Chair, and you know, I need to reflect the concerns that are raised both with me and with our planning officials when we review these applications. And while there is the appearance that there is parking, they have a driveway, one in the garage, one on the driveway. I invite you to a similar subdivision just up the street, exactly the same sort of, you know, stacked semis that are being proposed here at the corner of Weston and Shepherd. And I can tell you the main source of grief there is parking, because people don't have enough parking spaces for the number of cars that they require. I get it. And I understand the planning, you know, the planning sort of 101. Maybe we should have a session with the academics, the people who are teaching the planners, right? Maybe we should bring the academics, the pointy heads out into the neighborhood and say, you deal with this, right? You think about it. Because until, and I agree, until gas-powered cars, and then electric-powered cars, and then you know, what's the other one? The clean glass, the water, no, the hydrogen-powered cars, and then air-powered cars, right? Personal moving vehicles, until they disappear from the face of the earth, right? You get where I'm going here, right? Then there will be these conflicts. People will in those neighborhoods say, geez, you know what? My personal transport vehicle, which I have every right to, because you as a society require it as part of fueling your economies. You want to build them and consume them and move around, and it gives you personal freedom. So on one end you say, yeah, we all want you to have a car. We all want you to do good and be able to purchase one, because it makes our economy go around. Creates lots of jobs and blah, 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 and all that other stuff. So then on the other hand, we then create, these subdivisions like this, which ultimately create strife and conflict in a neighborhood. I would think that at some point in Planning 101, that the academics who train our distinguished planners also include a session, I would assume, on quiet enjoyment of life, right? You know, as it relates to property, right? Your right to quietly be able to enjoy your home in a peaceful way. I know you folks don't want to hear this, but I feel it also needs to be said. So where does one strike the balance between quiet enjoyment of property and sort of development that constricts, contracts, and creates angst and tension in neighborhoods? Because what that does is it takes the quiet enjoyment of property and rips it right down the middle, right? So, will there be hydrogen, powered personal vehicles at some point in our future that are environmentally clean and move us around? One would hope that we get to a good place for our planet. But at the same time, until we get there, we also need to understand that sometimes we should approach these things with a bit more of a sort of a relaxed demeanor and say, you know what, quiet enjoyment of property is also something that we strive to, and not create a tension in neighborhoods. And having said that, Mr. Chair, I felt I needed to get it off my chest. I'm happy to move the application we have before us.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Oh, Councillor Crescent.
Well, excuse me, are you in a hurry, Councillor? So first of all, it's refreshing to see that we have a development of single-family residential homes versus, 10, 15, 50-story towers. That's quite refreshing. That's good. So when I asked a question about, the parking and so on, that was on the assumption that we're going to actually have single families living in these properties, and the semis and the detached. So conditional on having single families, with husband, wife maybe, or just a couple of whatever nature they are, and with young children, and then, likely 1 or 2 cars or more than they're ever going to need. However, given the current policies we have at the city, I mean, a single-family home could quickly escalate or jump to what's we know is already approved fourplex, and potentially sixplex, but right, fourplexes are easy to probably accommodate in any of these properties. Then we're going to have major parking issues in this small community. Then we need to be concerned. But right now, I guess if we get the right complement, the complement of people there that purchase these as for single-family use, maybe rent just the apartment, that's potentially possible, then I think it'll be, it'll work quite well. But it is refreshing to see some single-family homes out in the market potentially for people to purchase. So thank you. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other members wishing to speak? Okay, on the staff recommendations, all those in favor, any opposed, that item carries. Our next item. EY 24.6, which is, excuse me, we did have a new item of business before we start that. So I would like to add a new item of business, which is concerning searching for potentially a new ice pad. All those in favor of adding new business, any opposed, that carries. Madam Clerk, if you could circulate that at your convenience. Our next item is EY 24.6, which is 1006 and 1008 Kipling Avenue, a residential demolition application. We have a speaker registered. That speaker is Stephanie Alexander. Stephanie, welcome to the Etobicoke-York Community Council.
Hello.
You have 5 minutes. Please begin as soon as you're ready.
Is this on? Great. Good morning. My name is Stephanie Alexander. I'm a resident of Islington Village. I live on Jopling Avenue North, just west of this 1006, 1008 Kipling. So I'm just 2 blocks in. I'm currently on the board with the Islington Ratepayers Association, and I'm here to ask you to indisputably refuse the application for residential demolition at 106, 108 Kipling, since the building permit for the replacement building has not yet been issued. Our neighborhood is currently bearing the scar of district development, preemptive demolition of single-family homes in Burnhamthorpe Crescent and Burnhamthorpe Road. The property has been left in shambles for 2 years, foreboding chain-link fences, old signs, gigantic weeds gone wild. This has created an uncomfortable pedestrian experience and a great place for rats to flourish. They're in my yard now. We have learned that no matter their plans and promises, builders don't always get it done. There's a wide variety of reasons for this. Financial plans go awry, permit delays, market changes, the selling of now vacant lots to another builder, who then applies with a new application, resubmits it, and then more delays. Demolition without a building permit adds to this risk. As evidence of this problem, because there is evidence, there are presently several vacant lots within a kilometer radius of 1006, 1008 Kipling. More blight, 8 Jopling Avenue South, 14 homes demolished, no building in sight. As of that application, we also have 12 Cordova. Again, occupancy planned for 2022 in our neighborhood, and of course, the infamous district site launched apparently in 2023. And now the possibility on Kipling Avenue, no matter their intent to build within 18 months, as they've stated, and this is just a small site. This demolition without building presents another permit risk on an already well-blighted neighborhood. We're getting fed up. Yes, they plan, they promise, they propose, but we have learned that this does not always come to fruition in our neighborhood. We are the ones who pay the price for the resulting empty building sites. No permit adds to this risk. If they don't have a building permit, they should not be allowed to demolish. We strongly advise that you refuse the application for demolition, as this application for the replacement building has not yet been approved. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you for speaking to us today.
Thank you.
Ms. Alexander. Any questions of staff? Seeing none. Members wishing to speak? That would be me. I'll pass the chair to vice chair because I'm going to move a motion. Madam Clerk, could you please allow me to...
Why don't we start the clock? Because I want to be 30.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Madam Clerk, could you option one, which is to refuse the application. That's the motion I'm making. Any questions of the mover? Seeing none. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Okay, our next item is EY 24.8, which is 95 Stavely Crescent, application for fence exemption. And we have speakers registered. Our first speaker is Michael Cottle. Is Michael in the chambers? Welcome, Michael.
Hello.
You have 5 minutes to speak to the committee. Please proceed.
Thank you. I'm Michael Cottle. I live at 93 Stavely Crescent. My neighbor at 95 Stavely is applying for a fence exemption. First, I would like to thank Councillor Crescenti for
Can
coming.
you just bend the mic towards, thank you, that helps.
Sorry
Much
about
better.
that.
Yep.
Thanks.
Carry on.
First, I'd like to thank Councillor Crescenti for coming to visit the site and taking a look at my family's concerns about the fence. There is a 2x12 board added to the top of one section of the fence. This was already the tallest section of fence on my property because of the grade difference with my neighbor. Even if we just measure the wood used to build this section of fence, there is a 6-foot fence board with 13 additional inches of wood on top, bringing the total to 85 inches or 215 centimeters, which is over the height limit in the bylaw, just in the building materials. This 2x12 was also poorly secured to the rest of the fence. It did not even last a year before it was blown down on a windy day at the end of April. This has to do with the screws my family complained about in September. These screws were protruding about 4 inches from the fence as they almost completely missed the 2x12. The 2x12 was then placed back poorly a second time in May. Smaller screws were added, but ironically, these screws also protrude. This was all after my neighbor was told to fix the screws that were protruding by municipal license and standards. The fence in the front yard was also built too high. This is because the boards are placed 7 to 8 inches from the ground. This is a minor problem, but also extremely easy to fix, as the boards could be lowered without any cutting, bringing the fence into compliance within a matter of hours. A fence is a structure that can last more than a decade. An exemption for something so easy to fix seems unnecessary. I would like to live in a community where people try to follow the rules. I think everybody would like to live in a community that's fair, and that starts by everybody having the same opportunities and same rules for everyone. The extra 2x12 board does not fit the construction style of the rest of the fence. It is poorly constructed, poorly planned, and it would set a terrible precedent if any exemption for this fence was made. When neighbors have disagreements on the height of a fence, the bylaw should be the standard that is relied upon. Good fences make good neighbors. Good fences do not violate the bylaws or have pieces blown down on windy days. With that said, please adopt the recommendations made by municipal license and standards and refuse the fence exemption. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this matter.
Thank you. Don't go away. Are there any questions of the speaker? Seeing none, thank you for joining us. Our next speaker is Dalila Johnny. Welcome, Dalila, to the Community Council. You have 5 minutes. Please proceed.
Good morning to everyone. My name is Dalila. I'm here to ask for an exemption on the fence that I installed on my property. There's a reason I installed this fence. It's for my safety and the children that live in my home safety. There's a lot that has been happening that led me to this type of resolution with the fence. I've been going through a lot of harassments. I've been going through a lot of pain from this neighbor. But I know this is, some of it is like police matters, but if you don't know what I'm going through, you won't understand. I'm just gonna give a brief incident that has happened to lead me to build up that fence. Racial discrimination, CCTV pointing in my backyard, my home vandalized, threat using electric saw and piece of brick repeatedly causing unnecessary dust. Every time my family is outside, my children is outside, in the driveway, into the garage, this happens. Only when we are outside, or only when my children, my kids, my vulnerable kids, especially kids, is outside, that happens. Their safety is priority to me. My responsibility is to take care of those kids. From 14, 12, 6, 11, they live with me. I'm the mom, the aunt, the sister. I am everything to them. I raise them, and I want to see they have a place outside to play without interference from the neighbor. I am fearful for my life. At night, coming home from work, I've been threatened. The type of activities, the behaviors I've seen is concerning. It's very concerning. I've never been in that situation before, but the fence I put there, installed there in August 30th to September 1st, was a layer of protection for myself and for my kids. Harassment with security surveillance alarm from the shed. Only when I'm outside, that noise is directed towards me and every member of my family. For 4 years to 5 years, I've been going through this. I have searched for my right, calling 311, calling city, calling consular offices, just to get some help. Because I've never experienced this type of behaviors, never seen it. And it's very concerning. I am saying it today to you, it's very concerning. Please accept my fence exemption. That way my kids, number one priority, can play outside without interference. Because we don't interfere. But my kids, I leave it to God so that God can judge and help your members of parliament to help me to keep that fence the way it is, just for my children to be able to play outside. Thank you.
Thank you. Were there any questions? Ma'am, could you please come back? There's a question from Deputy Mayor Morley.
Thank you for joining us and for sharing your testimony and your experience as it relates to the fence and your reason for seeking exemption. I'm just curious, we had heard from the neighbor about issues of the screws coming outside of the wood. Can you talk to me about how you address the issue of ensuring that there aren't screws coming out of the wood?
Okay, there is no screws coming out of the wood. When I get the call from the bylaw worker about the screws, I was on the phone with her. I said, it is not safe for me and my family to go on this neighbor's property to look for the screws. So what I did tell her on the phone, I make a conference call on the phone with the bylaw worker and the children's advocate, family advocate I have supporting me throughout all this. 3 of us on the phone, and I asked him, I told him this is what's going on. He said to me, I will come right away to check it out. And he came, within the half an hour, he came and go on the property and pass his hand. I have a video of it. Pass his hand all over the fence from start to finish and couldn't find a screw. And I sent it out to the bylaw officer.
Okay. We do just, for your information, we do have some photos of the fence, and there is still some screws protruding. So I do think that, of course, it's a safety issue. You mentioned the children and making sure everybody involved is safe. So I just wanted to call that out as something to continue to work to address, because that is something that is for sure of concern. Otherwise, again, I really appreciate you joining us today and making the exemption request. I'll leave it for the local councillor.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Ma'am, may I ask you one question as well? I just want to know who built the fence? Who is the person that built it? I know it's on your side.
I am the one that built it.
Okay, that's all. Thank you. Ma'am, there's some other questions from Councillor Crescenti.
Yes, Chair, thank you. I was just going to ask the same question. Who built the fence? And there was another question similar as well. How long has the fence been up? Did you hire a contractor?
Yes.
How long?
August 30th to last year, between August 30th to the 1st of September. It took 2 days. the first day is for the prep and to install the hole in the soil, and then the next day is to put the pallets.
So you had it professionally?
Yes.
All right. All right. Sorry? So, yeah, that's what I just confirmed. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. We do have one other speaker. That's Hamza Saeed from Delta Family Resource Center. Welcome to the Etobicoke-York Community Council. You've got 5 minutes. Please begin as soon as you're ready.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone. My name is Hamza Saeed. I am a student family advocate with Delta Family Resource Center, and I am, in support, of my children. I'm sorry. Summer. Everybody can hear me properly? Okay, good. I'm in support of the request for the fence exemption at property located at 95 Stavely. This situation is multifaceted. So first, let's address the safety. The fence is properly secure. I've been to the property multiple times. I don't know where that picture is coming from, to be honest with you, but it's secured. We've hired a contractor, and it's properly built and secured. So again, I want to affirm that the fence in question is properly built and securely installed. It was constructed with care using appropriate materials and standard safely within the boundaries of the property. It does not obstruct visibility, pose any danger, or violate intent of the city's bylaws. The fence provides necessary safety and privacy for the household. Since moving into their home, September 2020, the family has endured ongoing racial harassment, targeted behaviors from individuals. These are not isolated or minor inconveniences. They are persistent, harmful experiences that have disreputed the family's well-being and sense of security. These include verbal abuse, targeted provocations, coming outside to monitor or confront the family whenever they are outdoors, and constant surveillance, including photographing and recording the family and their children. This repeated harassment has effectively stripped the family of their rights to privacy and peaceful enjoyment of their own home. The fence has served as the only reliable buffer, providing not only physical separation, but emotional relief and safety for these invasive behaviors. This is not simply a bylaw issue, it's a matter of equity, safety, and human rights. The family requires calm, stable, and predictable environment. In the context, the fence is an essential tool for accommodation. Removing it would not only increase the vulnerability to further harm, but would also demonstrate a lack of consideration for their specific and pressing needs. Let us be clear, the fence was not built to exclude or provoke. It was built to protect. It represents a reasonable and necessary response to ongoing threat to the family's peace and well-being. In cases like this, council has both the authority and the moral responsibility to apply its bylaws with compassion, context, and commitment to justice. Denying this exemption would not be a neutral act. It would signal to this Black family that their right to safety and dignity in their own home is not equally protected. I respectfully urge you to grant the exemption and allow the fence to remain in place. Thank you for your time and consideration to this urgent matter.
Questions? Councillor Nunziata.
Yeah, just one question. Have you witnessed any of the harassment personally?
Yes, I have.
You have? Okay, thank you.
Further questions of staff? Councillor Crescent? Excuse me, questions of the speaker, not questions.
Yes,
Councillor
so
Crescent.
thank you so much for coming out and representing the family. Delta Family Services is a great organization. You all do great work up in Etobicoke North and
thank you.
everywhere else, so thank you for that. How did you come to represent the family on this particular matter when it comes to the fence exemption for the height?
Great question. I am the student family advocate of their nephew, 14-year-old nephew, and I deal with school matters, so I'm very close. So I'm always in schools, I'm always talking to the family, and just making that the systemic barriers towards education for Black youth in general more seamless.
Okay, so we're here today to deal just with the fence and the fence issue.
Yes.
I've spoken to both parties, and I've also spoken to Dalila as well, regarding the other issues, and I offered my support anytime I can be of help. My office is really close by to where they live. We're happy to assist any way we can. Have you reached out? I don't believe you've reached out to our office yourself, have you?
No, not as of yet.
All right. Thank you very much. That's all I had.
Any other questions? I had one.
If I can, I'm
Yep.
sorry, if I can just briefly elaborate on
Go ahead.
that. So when it comes to the family and how I'm involved, this fence issue spills into the child that I'm supporting, their well-being, and that's why I'm also here. And I just wanted to also, and thank you so much for your support as well.
Sir, I'm going by the photos, and I need to understand something. The first speaker talked about the fence being slightly out of compliance. The report says 14 centimeters and I think 30 centimeters. Whether it's the top rail of the fence or if it's the top of the post, most of the fence is almost there in terms of compliance. So it means that generally the fence can stay, and in the worst case, it would require some modification. But there's one section at the back that I don't understand, and that's the section with the board that's been added. And I understand it's taller. I'm looking at the picture, and I understand what wood adds up to, but the board divides the back of the garage from the other garage. And I'm just trying to figure out what utility the board provides. Because if it weren't for that board, this fence is almost in compliance. Could you enlighten us? Do you know why that board is there and why it's an extra piece? And that suddenly tilts everything by a significant amount.
As I said, with all due respect, it's multifaceted, and there's a lot of issues going on with, I believe, surveillance and just so that extra board is there just for protection. Yeah. No, that's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. No, it's okay.
So there's a camera. Okay.
So as I said, with all due respect, it's multifaceted.
Okay. And then in terms of the balance of the fence, I don't know, do you know, is it just the posts that are too tall, or is it the height of the fence?
I believe it's the height of the fence.
Okay, because are they 6-foot boards, do you know?
No, not for certain, 100%. But I do know that they're a little bit more than what the bylaw.
Because lumber usually comes like 6 feet, 8 feet, and then there's a top cap. Like it seems close.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
It's puzzling.
Absolutely.
Thank you for speaking to us.
No
I didn't have any other questions.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone.
Are there any other speakers to this matter? I'll check that are not on the list. Seeing none, questions to staff? Councillor Crescent.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I believe we spoke on the phone.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. So so I understand the fence for the most part is just marginally over the height, except when you get to that back portion, then it's even more taller than it should be, correct?
Through the chair, that is correct.
Can you just describe exactly?
So the fence in its current location is spanning from the front yard towards the side yard at a height of 2.14 meters. Once we get into the rear yard where that additional board is, the measurements that we took, municipal licensing and standards, resulted in 2.31 meters. And the measurement is inclusive of the fence posts.
Okay. You also noted some protruding screws?
This was brought to our attention. At the time when we initially received that complaint, that was addressed. Modifications were made. I can confirm we did receive a video of it. However, we have new information that the screws continue to be present towards the rear, and our department is willing to address that.
How many times have you visited the property to address this issue?
Myself, I visited the property once to take the photos and measurements for this report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions? Deputy Mayor Morley?
Thank you. Just for clarification, sorry, because I've seen a few different sets of photos and both are on both sides of the fence. When you initially attended, were there screws protruding?
During my initial inspection, I did not witness any screws. My role for that inspection, for drafting this report, was strictly for the measurement of the fence.
Okay, thank you.
Additional questions of staff? I'm going to ask just a couple. I'm looking at the photo, so there's clearly two parts to the fence. The front section has wood panels with vertical boards and a top cap, and it has a bunch of posts. Did I hear correctly that the height of the fence, as you reported at 2.14 meters, is inclusive post and the top cap?
That is correct. Sorry, through the chair. When measurements are taken of fencing with municipal licensing and standards, the posts are inclusive of the construction of the entirety of the fence, and that is measured.
Okay, so if the person that built the fence cut the posts level or close to level with the top of the fence, that section would be in compliance. Is that correct?
We would have to confirm. We would have to confirm with additional measurements, but based on the photos and my knowledge, it may be in compliance if those sections are cut.
Okay, so the top cap of the fence is not in violation?
The top cap where the posts have that.
Between the posts?
Between the posts, I do not believe that they're in violation. However, we would need to measure those panels individually.
Okay, and if they were, it would be really, really close?
It would be marginal, that is correct.
Okay, so this fence, with the exception of that extra panel at the back and the height of the posts, is generally compliant with the bylaw?
That is correct.
The last piece, I can't tell from the photo, but there is that extra board that's added to the top of the panel. It looks like it is behind the face of the garage. Do we know, is that true, or is it proud of the garage?
Based on the photo, my recollection of my inspection, it is adjacent to the fence, adjacent to the garage.
Okay. Could you see any cameras or line of cameras would the panel be of utility to the interception of any line of sight of cameras that you saw?
I did not witness any cameras. That was not part of my inspection for the height of the fence and measurements of the fence. But if there were to be a camera, this would buffer that view.
Okay, and one last thing, this photo was taken, is that sawdust on the ground next to
this photo was taken in March. My apologies, in March. It could potentially be some sawdust covered with snow.
Okay, but was the fence like really new when you saw it?
It did appear to be new. Okay. Good condition. Again, I don't exactly recall when it was constructed.
Yep. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Questions? Councillor Nunziata.
Going on to your question, so other than just a couple of variances here, the applicant is able to have a fence. They're able to have that fence that's there.
In that current location, yes, the fence is permitted. The height is a maximum of 2 meters per Toronto Municipal Code.
Just so we understand, so they're able to put that fence in place, other than there may be a couple of minor issues, but they're allowed. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Councillor Perruzza. Yeah.
So you attended the site, obviously. How did you get to the site? Like, why did you go there?
As part of my duties as a supervisor with the district operations with municipal licensing and standards, when we do receive a fence exemption application, my role is to attend the site and take independent measurements of the officer and independent measurements to, essentially I'm a third party to taking measurements, what's provided by the officer and what's provided by the applicant.
Well, I guess my question to you is, how did this fence come to your attention, or your department's attention?
This fence came to our attention through a service request received via 311 for a fence being too high.
Okay, 311. And it seems like the angle of the pictures is just on one side of the fence. So you went on one property, but you didn't go on the other property. You don't have any pictures from the other side.
I do not have pictures on the other side.
Because you didn't go on the other property.
That is correct.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? I think we've exhausted them. Members wishing to speak? Okay, Deputy Mayor Morley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to staff for the work, and to the advocate who's here supporting the family, and to the family and the neighbors. This is an unfortunate situation. It's a very difficult one, I think, for us as community council to appreciate the impact of ongoing neighbor disputes. I've had my fair share of issues and disputes with neighbors, and it is an incredibly uncomfortable space to be in when your home and your place of peace is not something that feels safe, secure, or peaceful. And so, you know, I appreciate that there's community coming together and there's work to resolution, including on this fence issue and hopefully to others. We always encourage all of our residents to avail themselves of all of the mechanisms within the system that are in place to keep us safe, including engaging local police if there's issues of criminality and harassment and things like that. So I appreciate the local councillors involved, and hopefully on both sides you all are able to continue those discussions and work to a better place. But you know, as someone who works really hard in this city addressing issues of confronting anti-Black racism, which is a priority for us as a city, we do need to continue to have these conversations and hold space when people need additional supports. So I will be supporting approval of the exemption, and we'll let the local councillor speak to that. Thank you.
Other members wishing to speak? Councillor Crescent.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So this has been quite a challenging one for me. I've dealt with a lot of fence exemptions. It's quite unfortunate. We have, you know, two neighbors that are having these issues. I've extended my service and support to both of them. And I just also spoke to Delila again today, assuring her that any assistance that my office could provide, we're there to help. So that equally goes to both parties. I just want to be very clear about that. Now, we're here to deal specifically with the fence and the installation of the fence, and the fact that the fence is marginally over the required height. And then there seems to be a time at some point, and I didn't get clarity on that, that an additional board was added. I have photographs. I visited the site. The board is maybe without visible screws or nails on one side, but on the other side of the neighbor, I have a photo here, and I saw it myself when I went, that has visible screws that are protruding out. So this is clearly a safety issue. It can't remain the way it is. So likely the whole fence was done and installed professionally, but this board doesn't look like it was. So I've got to make a choice and decision here. And I think probably what the best route is, I'm going to allow the fence exemption. I'm going to ask that this board be removed and installed by a professional, someone that can put up a board that is maybe slightly smaller than the one that's there now, not as high, but installed properly, where there are not going to be any visible screws, where there are not going to be any signs of anything that potentially could be not safe for either resident on both sides. So I think that's doable. It's unfortunate that, this occurred and evolved in the way that it did. But I think it's important for both families to find some peace and find a spot where they can be able to live together without having the stress of what's going on. I'm not privy to all the details, but I understand there's some history there, and I can assure both families that my office is open to support both of you in any way that I can support you to make sure that you're both living without fear of anything. No one deserves to live in a community in that way. The board needs to be taken out and reinstalled. Again, I'll leave it to the judgment of the professional installer. It would have to be maybe slightly smaller than it is in height than what it's currently there, and maybe something a little more decorative, something that looks visibly better than what's there now, with no protruding screws that could potentially cause any issue for either party. So, Mr. Chair, I understand when speaking to clerk that they're going to need some time to design a motion that speaks to that to resolve the issue.
So we'll set this down for a moment. I want to make a quick comment, but I'll ask if there's anyone else that wants to speak.
Well, I just had a question related to the motion, just so I know what I'd like to support the motion. So when you say the board installed by a professional, and you're sort of asking to approve the exemption. The exemption would give the rear of the fence the height at which that current board is at. So once that exemption is approved, that fundamentally becomes the height. And then once that becomes the height, that board can technically stay, because while your motion asks to remove the board, you're saying I'm approving the exemption. Bylaw isn't then able to say that board is unsightly, or because it has screws protruding from it, you need to take it down. A bylaw won't be able to say any of those things. So I just would caution like what your intent is. So if your intent is to approve that height, then approve the height, but just understand that that if then the property owners do not remove the board, you've essentially given them the exemption.
Thank you for that question, and I thought it was clear till you spoke, Councillor. You brought some confusion now to me, but so the intent is, the intent is to replace the board. It's all to happen simultaneously. To hire a professional, so likely maybe the same contractors who installed that fence, to bring them back and have them remove this, make it safe, and put up something that maybe doesn't look like just a piece of 2x4 and looks something a little more decorative, that's maybe an inch or two slightly shorter. So I'm leaving some discretion in that part, and that should...
So then can I just ask one more question? So then are you saying you approve, you're going to move the variance on the condition that that rear board be replaced?
Correct.
With a different board?
Correct.
So that's a condition in your motion.
And installed safely.
And can I just get somebody from legal to see if we can apply that condition to a fence exemption? Oh, yeah. Can we apply that condition to a fence exemption like that?
Could we get a comment of whether that is in order?
Yeah.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I don't know off the top of my head if you can conditionally approve a fence exemption. I can have a quick look at it if we want to stand down for a couple of minutes.
So I will then propose that we get this motion, we'll stand this item down, we'll get the motion worked out, Madam Clerk, if you can access legal to make sure that it is something that stands, I think we're clear on the intention. And thank you,
think the
Councillor
intention,
Perruzza, for his
Mr.
question
Chair-
to make sure that it's operational.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, yeah, I think the request here is straightforward. There's nothing crazy legal about this. It's allowing the exemption. Let's make sure that whatever goes up there goes up professionally without protruding screws. How's that? You know, and it looks more visibly attractive than what's currently there. Okay?
Okay, let's
Are we
stand it
good?
down. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Time's up for questions.
No, it's being held down because we got to work on it. Thank you.
So I'm gonna take just a few seconds to make one comment that I often make about fences. I'll run my time. So I asked the question. It was important to ask who built the fence, and I got the answer back. It was the homeowner, and then it was clarified that it was a contractor. I regret I didn't get to ask the name of the contractor because I often like to have that read in the mic. And the reason for this is I find homeowners end up into problem situations because their contractor built a fence that didn't meet the bylaw. And I appreciate there's two parts to this fence. The first is the front, which is very, very close to what it's required to be. And then there's the extra board at the back. Clearly, someone made a decision to put that board on. Councillor Crescent is addressing that. The thing that is disappointing to me is that the vast majority of the fence is actually compliant. And it's just the height of the posts that are out of specification. And, you know, I hope the resident considers having a word with their contractor about, you know, why did you build this, and have me end up into community council, because if you would have cut them off at the correct height, it's not like they do anything. The fence is there already. They allowed them to stand up a little bit taller, and they caused the fence to be out of specification. I know a little bit about building fences and what it would take to cut them off, but Councillor Crescent is going to deal with that in the motion. But I just felt that it was worth pointing out that although we've got two neighbors in this situation, the third part is the contractor that actually built the fence and built something which isn't compliant with the city's bylaws, which is disappointing because somebody should know that. And, you know, what it would take to fix that part should be up to them. But that's my opinion on it, and I thank everyone for allowing me the comment. So we'll stand this item down. Unfortunately, we need a few minutes to get the motion worked out, and we will move on to the next item in just a second. So our next item is EY 24.9, which is 360 Melrose Street, which is an application to remove a city tree. Deputy Mayor Morley.
We have speakers.
Pardon me, we do have speakers. Thank you. We do have two speakers registered for this. The first is Addison Milne Price. Is Addison in the chamber?
He's here.
Great. Welcome, Addison. You have 5 minutes. Please begin.
Thank you. Just before I begin, I just wanted to mention that the arborist for this application and appeal, Mr. Sebastian Bravo, he is the next speaker. Yes. We're both speaking on behalf of the applicant. We're happy to share the 5 minutes. Ideally, I'd like to say my entire piece, but I'm in your hands. Thank you very much. Good morning, councilors. My name is Addison Milne Price. I'm a registered professional planner at Design Plan Services, located at 87 Skyway Avenue. Just for some brief history on this tree permit appeal, this tree removal is related to a severance application and two associated minor variance applications that were submitted and approved in January of 2025. Throughout that process, we engaged with the city, we engaged with the neighbors. We submitted a detailed planning rationale and a comprehensive arborist report prepared by Mr. Bravo, which indicated that the transplant of this young tree was feasible. Throughout the hearing process, no objections were received from the public or any city department apart from Urban Forestry, who recommended refusal for the severance on the basis of removing this city-owned tree. So The arborist will speak to the specifics of the tree and the removal itself, but what I would like to point out is that there was no specific variance that was actually linked to the tree removal itself. Well, the density of the houses and the severance itself were determined to meet the 4 tests and the criteria of the subdivision. The removal of the tree is actually necessitated by the introduction of an as-of-right driveway. The proposed driveway, it's compliant with all of the maximum width requirements, and the front yard has an adequate amount of soft landscaping as required by the zoning bylaw. And in other words, this zoning bylaw, it contemplates this type of lot size with a similar or even larger driveway. Furthermore, the lot area and frontage of lots that were created through the associated severance application were consistent with the neighborhood. In fact, the 25-foot lot that was proposed and approved is the most common lot that you'll find along Melrose Street and in this area, and nearly all of these similar lots do have a city tree in the municipal boulevard. That's my comment that I'd like to make, and I'll hand it over to Mr. Bravo now.
So hang on. Before you go, I'll just ask if there are questions. Deputy Mayor Morley.
Thank you, and good morning. On the severance application on the site, there are 2 significant large trees on the property itself within the private section, I would imagine. Are the proposed severance and new builds are not planning to impact those 2 large trees? Is that a fair assessment, or can you talk to me about what the anticipated impact with this redevelopment is on those additional trees on the site?
Yeah, so through you, Mr. Chair, those 2 trees are proposed to be removed to facilitate the construction. This appeal only pertains to the city-owned tree. Urban forestry, city planning, they had no issue with the removal of those 2 private trees.
Okay, thank you. That's my question.
Mr. Milne-Price, you said something that caught my attention. You mentioned the words "as of right driveway," and I wondered if you could expand on what that meant.
Yes. So what I mean by this, Mr. Chair, is that the driveway that we're proposing could be constructed without any severance application, without any minor variance. We could the owner of this property could demolish their house and build a new house without seeking any minor variance. It could be entirely in line with the zoning bylaw, and that proposed driveway could go through the area of this city-owned tree.
The driveway's on public land, though. So is it your understanding that the applicant has the right to build the driveway on the public land?
Mr. Chair, it's my understanding that the applicant does have an ability to have a driveway that connects to a private garage where there is a private garage.
So the report acknowledges, I think, that there was a condition on the Committee of Adjustment applications that reminded everyone that the city still had the right to make a decision on the tree. And that proceeded through the committee, and it's a separate set of laws. Did the staff of urban forestry offer any counter proposals or suggestions which would bring them to a point where they would give you a positive report?
So, Mr. Chair, while we were going through the minor variance application and severance, there was no alternative offered by urban forestry. Their request is only for a refusal. However, I would point out in the report for this appeal, they did give an alternative option to refusing the appeal, and that is in the vein of 5 replacement trees, either planted to the satisfaction of urban forestry staff or in payment in lieu.
I'm sorry, I don't understand that answer. So the staff indicated that they would support the removal of this tree contingent on 5 replacement trees?
Mr. Chair, no, urban forestry staff is not in support of the tree appeal, and I understand that. However, in their report, they did offer an alternative.
Oh, no, okay, I understand. So there's an alternate recommendation, but it's not their recommendation. just getting back to my question, did the urban forestry staff in any conversations suggest a modified plan which would be acceptable to them? You know, a relocated driveway, a narrower driveway, that sort of thing?
Through you, Mr. Chair, no, there was no alternative offered. The recommendation was refusal.
Thank you. Any other questions of staff? Excuse me, of the speaker. Doing that. No, thank you for joining us. Our next speaker is Sebastian Bravo from Cohen and Master Tree and Shrub Services Limited.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome, Sebastian. You've got 5 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time and for your consideration with this matter. It's much appreciated. It's my understanding that Toronto Urban Forestry deems the removal of the city tree, an 8-centimeter horse chestnut tree, to not be a viable option to accommodate the proposed development, nor does it deem the potential relocation of this tree to be a viable alternative to removal also. My company, Tree and Ravine Inc., was initially hired by my client a few years ago to produce the arborist report and tree protection plan as part of the submission package. Since that time, I have joined Cohen and Master Tree and Shrub Services as a consulting arborist. As part of continuing to assist my client with this project, I discussed the project details with my colleagues at my new workplace. Based on these discussions, we feel that the transplanting of an 8-centimeter diameter tree is entirely possible and a viable option in this instance. We as a company have done similar work like this in the past and will continue to do so in the future. We have transplanted much larger trees than this, and we do not feel there are any impediments to carrying out this transplanting work. In fact, at the end of June, the tree work department of Cohen and Master transplanted a 24-centimeter diameter ginkgo tree for U of T, located at 1 King's College Circle. The tree we are discussing here is this tree is 3 times the diameter of the 8-centimeter horse chestnut we are discussing at this hearing. If urban forestry does not deem the transplanting of the existing tree to be a viable option, then replacing the tree post-construction with a tree of the same species and of the same size or larger is another option that we at Cohen and Master are willing to undertake. Both scenarios can be carried out by Cohen and Master, and both options result in a horse chestnut of the size that is currently on the site to remain post-construction. Regarding the potential loss of viable rooting space within the city road allowance, my client is proposing that the new driveway be constructed using permeable pavers at 80% compaction, which would still allow the area proposed to be an additional driveway to still be viable rooting space for the horse chestnut tree. This would also allow the area to take in stormwater during storms and would lessen runoff. In summation, we feel strongly that the tree in question and that the proposed design can both be accommodated, and that a horse chestnut tree of the size that is currently located at 360 Melrose can thrive on the site post-construction. Thank you.
Questions of the speaker? I hang on. Any other? Okay, I do have one. I'm going to turn my computer. In the report, there's a diagram. I'm sure you're familiar with it, that shows the tree to be relocated.
Yes.
Now, the staff report says that it's not supported because the soil volume is insufficient.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that tree being relocated just next to the other driveway.
Yeah.
Do you?
Well, just next to the proposed driveway. Sorry, is that?
Well, I think that's either the proposed driveway of the other house or an existing driveway. I don't know. But it looks to be between 2 driveways, very close to one. Is it of your view that the planting of the tree at that location, as shown on this diagram, is doable?
Yes, it is.
And is it your view that the soil volume is adequate between the 2?
Yes, as I mentioned, because we're proposing permeable pavers at 80% compaction, the area that will be the proposed driveway will still be viable rooting space for a tree.
Okay, so the point I'm getting at here is the proposal is to relocate the tree in front of either one of the subject properties of the severance and not in front of somebody else's house.
Correct.
Okay, that's helpful clarification. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none? questions of staff. Deputy Mayor Morley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to our colleagues in forestry. I did have a question just with respect to the proposed transplantation. Is that correctly? I don't know if I used the right word. Yeah. I actually haven't seen or heard a proposal like that before. Can you give us your expert opinion on the viability of a potential transplant as suggested by the arborist, as well as what the potential impact would be on the appraised value that we would typically take for a tree to be removed? Would it still be required for them to pay for the removal in a transplant situation? Can you talk to me a bit about that? Sorry, just click the button at the top.
Through the speaker, first of all, to your question about transplanting or relocation of the tree and the tree root ball and all that. In my personal professional experience, yes, I have seen trees even larger than that being transplanted, but it is of staff opinion at the time that it wasn't a viable option. And it since the tree has been planted there since 2017, it's been 8 or so years now. So the root ball has established, and transplanting is an option, but it's not always a recommended option because it is questionable whether tree would survive. Secondly, in this scenario, the speaker has question about the soil volume that we have mentioned in the report that is insufficient, and particularly the location of the tree where the tree is to be located is just literally about, I'm guessing, about half a meter from the driveway. As the tree root ball and the girth and base grow, that would not be adequate for the long-term viability of the tree. Sorry, the second portion of
Yeah, I was just, sorry, kind of a, I guess, clerical question about whether a transplant, if it was successful, whether we would still be required to receive the appraised value of the tree?
If typically, if in situations where we agree to the transplanting of the tree, we would collect a tree protection security deposit, which is which includes the appraised tree value, the standing value of the tree, plus the potential replanting of a new tree if the tree doesn't survive, as well as potential removal if somehow in the transplanting process the project is being abandoned. The city have to come and deal with the after the result of that.
Right.
So the tree protection security deposit is usually larger than the appraised tree value, the standing value of the tree itself.
Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you so much. And just confirming, in this case, for the alternative rec, should the removal be approved, there would be a requirement for 5-to-1 replacement.
That is if it's approved by council, yes.
And do you know, and apologies, I should have asked this to the applicant, if there's intention to replace them on all 5 trees on the existing site?
In my opinion, I don't. There's not enough space to plant all 5 trees. Maybe 1 if we're lucky.
Okay, thank you so much. Those are my questions.
Thank you for speaking to us and answering questions. I'm intrigued on this. So this is a situation, and correct me if I've understood it wrong, where the applicant went to the Committee of Adjustment. They went through that process to get a severance and approval for probably some variances on some houses. And normally there's a condition or there's information added to the decision in one form or another that says, by the way, you have to go get your own permit to remove the tree because the committee doesn't have the authority to tell the city to remove a tree. Is that right?
I believe if it goes through the Committee of Adjustment, approval of any minor variance or severance only speaks to or authorize us to grant approval for assets or trees on private property only.
That's right.
Yes, not on city
But
property.
the committee can't compel the city to remove
You are
a
correct.
city tree. So this is a situation where the proposed driveway conflicts with the city tree. And it's like one of those impossible risks. So here we are. And your assessment was you can't move it, and the bylaw says it's healthy, so you can't remove it. And that really only leaves them, can't build the driveway. Build the house, but you can't build the driveway. Is that correct?
That is correct. However, that is the very reason why originally we denies or recommend denying of the severance, because that would result in 2 lots and 2 driveway must be allowed. And that's why we have our original comment to deny the severance.
And this is important. I want to understand this. Now, you mentioned that 2 driveways must be allowed, but is the city compelled to allow a driveway? And it may not be for you to answer.
No.
All right, so I'll ask that question in a second. Were there any conversations with the applicant about modifications to both or one of the driveways, which would create a scenario that could support either maintaining the tree or transplanting it? Thinner driveways, different configuration?
I don't believe there was.
Okay. And is there a way that they could narrow the driveways to create the soil volume that is required and modify the placement of the trees so that there was space for the roots longer term?
For a transplanted tree?
Correct.
Or in the tree in the same location?
A transplanted or a future tree, because it's about soil volume, right, when it gets bigger?
From looking at the diagram that you're also looking at, I think there's an option.
Okay.
Because it seems like the portion of the driveway on the city right-of-way from the curb to the sidewalk, it's expanded.
Yes.
If we could narrow that, that may potentially provide more soil volume.
Okay.
And perhaps if we relocate the exact location on the diagram to somewhere centralized between the 2 driveways, I would say there is an option there.
Okay. And I think it's a single-car driveway. Does that make sense? It's hard for me to tell by scale.
It's a single because it's only about 3 meters.
About 3 meters wide, and then it flares bigger. Okay, so working in the vicinity of 3 meters, dealing with the flare, you think it might be close, that there's enough volume to put a tree in between the 2 houses?
There's a possibility.
Or replant, okay. Thank you, that's very helpful, and I'm gonna ask, I don't know if there's someone from transportation or somebody that can answer the question, with respect to this idea or notion that there is an as-of-right access to a driveway, and I'm sorry my timer didn't run. This will be my last question. Just, is a homeowner entitled then to have a driveway access?
Yes, they are, as long as it meets the internal dimensions of the garage.
It's the internal dimensions of the garage.
The
Okay,
width.
so I can build a driveway on my private property,
Yes,
but as soon as I cross that line into the city,
there's a maximum width of internal.
and as of right, I can say, city, I want to do that.
Yes.
And do I need a permit to do it? Or is it implicit in the approval or building?
It would have to go through permits of enforcement, yes.
Okay.
MRDs, there's some fees and
Okay.
permits.
And in this case, we have a conflict with forestry's requirements and transportation's otherwise as of right driveway apron, which crosses over city land onto the road.
We would flag there is a tree in our memo, and they have to correspond with forestry.
Thank you for clearing that up.
Thank you.
And apologies, members. You may notice your timer doesn't run. It doesn't always activate on the button. I'll have to clean the screen or something here. So are there any other questions of staff? Seeing none, members wishing to speak? Deputy Mayor Morley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, thank you to our colleagues for the report before us. Thank you for starting my time, Mr. Chair. I will be brief. I will be moving the alternative recs in this report. As we know, and was mentioned from the applicant, there has already been quite a significant and onerous process of going through the Committee of Adjustments to seek a relief in this way. The tree in question is a small tree. If it was a private tree, it would not be subject to protection because it's only 8 centimeters. Because it's on the public right-of-way, it is subject to our approval for removal, and appreciating that the construction as proposed and approved at Committee of Adjustment would not be feasible with this tree being retained. I'm not sure about the transplant option and all of that, and I'll sort of leave that to staff and the applicant to work through. But at this time, if the clerks can throw the alternative rec up on the screen, please. It is to approve the request for permit for the one city-owned tree in front of this with conditions. So the conditions include providing payment of the appraised value, agreeing to have the tree removed at their own expense, providing 5 replacement trees, which can be achieved in a combination of on-site planting and cash in lieu if needed, and to the satisfaction, of course, of the Executive Director of Environment, Climate, and Forestry, as well as providing a tree planting security deposit to cover the cost of planting and warranty for a period of 2 years for all trees to be planted on city property. It's never easy to allow our trees to go. Again, this is, I think, a situation that does warrant it, and we look forward to having the trees replaced and ensuring that our tree canopy in Etobicoke continues to be strong and vibrant. So thank you so much. That's the motion before you.
Any other members wishing to speak? Seeing none, on the amendment, or the motion, I guess, by the amendment by Deputy Mayor Morley. All those in favor of the amendment, item is amended. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Okay, back to the agenda. I'm assuming, Madam Clerk, you still need a bit more time on the outstanding motion. Okay. So back to our order paper. Our next item is one of the new items of business, EY 24.20, which is Warnica Avenue and Brawley Avenue, always stop control. This is a Ward 3 application. There's no speakers. Deputy Mayor Morley, are there any questions of staff?
No questions of staff.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Morley to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This item before us is in response to concerns raised by residents living near the intersection of Warnica Avenue and Brawley Avenue. It's where Queensland Park is situated, and many community members have expressed serious safety concerns at this intersection. They report that it's increasingly dangerous to cross the street, particularly for families with small children when trying to access Queensland Park. The lack of adequate crossing infrastructure or traffic calming measures has made this a growing issue for those who use the park regularly, and so we are proposing to move forward with an all-way compulsory stop control at the intersection of Warnica Avenue and Brawley Avenue to support the pedestrian safety for especially our young neighbors in the community. So we've worked with local residents, as I mentioned, on their request to make this happen, and we're glad to be able to move it forward today.
Okay, on the item, all those in favor? Oh, no, hang on. All those in favor? Any opposed? I'm opposed. That passes. Okay. The next one is EY 24.21, Photography Drive between Black Creek Drive and a point 310 meters northwest, parking regulation amendments. Councillor Nunziata, questions of staff?
No.
Councillor Nunziata to speak.
Just to move the recommendation, this has been an issue that I've been dealing with for quite a while. This is right at the corner of where No Frills is, and on Photography Drive where we have trucks, tractor trailers coming and parking on the street for hours and days. And we try to get parking enforcement out, but there's no signage, so we have to remove those trucks. They're not only there parked there, they're also dumping garbage on city property. So moving this recommendation, and hopefully parking enforcement can go out and start tagging and towing the illegal trucks.
Okay, Councillor Nunziata moves the recommendations. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. EY 24.22, which is 59 and 60 Annie Craig Drive, inclusion of lay-by parking space. Questions of staff, Deputy Mayor Morley. No questions. Deputy Mayor Morley to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm really pleased to have this coming forward and moving forward. This has been a long-standing challenge of just completing one aspect of a development down in the Humber Bay Shores community to the satisfaction of all the stakeholders involved, including the developer and the residents within the condo building now, which has been occupied for quite some time. The motion before us will allow us to move forward with the completion of the outstanding work to the satisfaction of all parties, and we're really glad to have an elegant solution, and with thanks to staff for their support on it.
On the recommendations, all those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. EY 24.23 is changes to the Weston Village BIA Board of Management. Questions to staff? Councillor Nunziata.
No questions.
Councillor Nunziata to speak.
Yes, I would just like to move the recommendation that we accept the resignation of the board member.
On the recommendations, all those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries. Our next item is EY 24.24. Its title is Replacement Ice Pad in Etobicoke-York District. Any questions of staff? Members wishing to speak? I will move the recommendation. All those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries. We will just check in to see how we're doing, because that is one remaining item of business. Okay, Councillor Crescent, go ahead, sir.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. So, okay, we finally, staff has been working feverishly to come up with the right motion for this really complex issue. And it's unfortunate that it became complex. So here's what we have. So if both parties could, and everyone can hear the motion, I will read it. Approve the application for fence exemption by the property owner of 95 Stavely Crescent at the current height on the condition that the property owner remove the top board in the rear yard and ensure that it's installed by a fence contractor with matching materials and without any protruding screws within a 30-day time period, and require the property owner to maintain the fence in good repair without alteration. At such time as replacement of the fence is required, the installation will comply with Municipal Code Chapter 447, fences or its successor bylaw. So that will, I believe, is a balanced solution to an unfortunate situation. I wish both parties well moving forward. And again, I equally invite both parties to reach out to my office if there's any support that I can provide you at any given time. I'm happy to speak to you about how we came to this solution, and I'm happy to speak to you about any other issues you may be having and experiencing and support you through that process. But I feel strongly that this is, given the circumstances, is the best way forward, and I wish you both good luck. Thank you very much. Mr. Chair?
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone else? Any questions? Anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing none, on Councillor Crescent's amendment, all those in favor? Any opposed? And on the item as amended, all those, nope, there's a replacement, so one vote. Thank you. Volunteers for the bills, if they're ready. Deputy Mayor Morley volunteers to read the first one.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Happy to move that bills 658 to 661, 663, and 664, prepared for the July 3rd, 2025 meeting 24 of the Etobicoke-York Community Council, be declared as bylaws and passed, subject to section 226.9 of the City of Toronto Act 2006.
All those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries.
Chair, just before we close,
Might be one more bill.
Just before we close, 2 seconds.
Hang on.
So,
Do we have any other bills? So let,
just before we do the bills, just kind of like a point of, I don't know, information.
There is no point of information.
point of order or
This
point
is-
of,
this
point
is-
of order or point of privilege?
Point of order.
Okay, point of
order, okay. So, you've noticed as you walk in through the door here on the side that it's fenced off, there's a machine parked in the parking lot. There's nobody working on the place, right? I don't know how long that machine has been parked there. I don't know how long that machine is going to be parked there. But it's a real inconvenience because the doors are locked. Nobody in, nobody out, because there's a machine occupying the parking lot that isn't doing anything. That's exactly the frustration that people experience out on the street when people park their machines in the middle of the road and basically block traffic and cause congestion. I'm sure there's somebody here in charge somewhere that takes ownership of this, right? Gets out there and says, you know, if you're not going to do the work here for another 4 days, park the machine at the end of the parking lot, open the door, and don't inconvenience people coming in and out of the building, because this is, after all, is a public building, right? Just lead by example here. Good judgment, what's the phrase again?
Thank you, Council.
Common sense. My friend coined it this morning. I want to phrase that common sense phrase. It's common sense. Move the machine.
I didn't get the memo. Did you get the memo?
On the bills, a volunteer to read that. Deputy Mayor Morley is going to read the second bill.
We'll get there. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Happy to move that confirmatory bills to confirm the legislative proceedings of the Etobicoke-York Community Council acting under delegated authority at meeting 24 on July 3rd, 2025, be declared as bylaws and passed subject to section 226.9 of the City of Toronto Act 2006.
All those in favor? Any opposed? That item carries. Madam Clerk, confirming we have no other items of business. With that, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
I went there this morning to park there, and I realized I couldn't get into the building.
That's what I'm talking